Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass. Live on the cover here with you on Grande's Graveyard. Welcome back to another edition of the show. It's still Roctober. We're still kicking it like villains, ladies and gents. And tonight we've got a special. It's not a family number 2 special with baked ziti, mozzarella sticks, garlic knots, and a whole pie of pizza. No, it's not an exploitation special. No, it is the haunted house special, ladies and gents. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm super fucking excited tonight. So welcome to the graveyard. Hope everybody's having a wonderful, safe week. And of course, we're preparing for the weekend. I'm super excited about that. But tonight on the show, we are going to be diving into 3 of the awesomest haunted house horror movies, in my humble opinion. And, you know, I can give a little bit of a setup before we go right into the meat and potatoes. Of course, we'll be discussing House from 1977. We'll also be discussing House from 1986. And we'll also be discussing, I promise, this one's not House. It's Burnt Offerings. Yes, probably my favorite all-time haunted house movie. And when we get into it, I mean, this might be my most underrated movie, period. Like, everybody has that movie where they go, oh, that's the most underrated movie of all time. This might be that movie for me, but we'll get into that. I'm undecided of how I feel on that. It's funny because these two have definitely been seen more and discussed more. This one, though, I made a point of it. I was like, you know what? I got to do Burnt Offerings, give it its own show one of these days. And I figured Roctober would be the best time to do like a haunted house show because let's face it. I mean, when it comes to Roctober season, I've already done my Halloween horror picks, and I gave you guys a bunch of, you know, anthologies and some lesser talked about films to watch. But for some reason, Roctober, Shocktober, October, it always spells out haunted house movies for me. I feel like it's always appropriate to do, whether it be some of the biggies like the Amityville Horror, and that one's literally close to home. I mean, the Amityville Horror is not, you know, it's just a few miles from me. Of course, movies like The Innocents, movies like The Haunting. Granted, I always thought The Haunting was a little bit overrated, but there's a lot of haunted house movies that I like to watch around this time of the year. And I sat down and I was like, let me give myself a little bit of, you know, diversity when it comes to this haunted house show. I wanted to get a little taste of everything. And, you know, that's why I came up with these 3. They're all very, very good, but they're all, I think, unique and different in of their own way. So I'm really excited to discuss these movies here tonight. We've got somebody in the chat. It's the Soulless Trenchcoat and the Heezy. Trenchy, what's going on, good brother? Hope all is well with you, buddy. Were you ready for the haunted house show tonight? You ready to get spooky, my friend? I know I am. But I guess first, of course, we always try to, at least I always try to start with what I'm drinking tonight. And this is a first for Grande's Graveyard. Now, it's not alcohol. No, I'm still straight edge for life. But this is a first. For the first time ever on Grande's Graveyard, I am drinking Kedem grape juice on Grande's Graveyard. Yes, 100% juice, if you believe that. Granted, this is some sugary shit. I don't fucking believe that for 2 seconds. I don't think this is 100% juice, man. I don't know, but a little taste test here. I mean, I think it's pretty good. It's just a little strong. Oh, man, it's good, though. Now, if you watered this down a little bit, I think it'd be perfect. But I don't know. I like my strong, sugary drinks anyway. So I don't know. It is what it is. I had never heard of this. This was a Mama Grande purchase. She came home, was like, yo, I got grape juice. I was like, yo, I'm going to be drinking that shit on the show tonight. I also drank it with dinner if you can't see. Had some spaghetti. It was fire, man. So Kedem grape juice. What is everybody else drinking tonight? That's what I'm rolling with. I know I'm old school, but I do love grape juice. Good, thanks. How are you? I am really good, man. I'm enjoying the month of Roctober. I've done a lot of fun Roctober things. We went to a haunted house a couple weeks ago. Last week we did like a horror movie night where we watched Dead Silence, which is a really cool little movie. I've been friggin', you know, just kind of hanging out and enjoying myself and doing a couple shows. Did a candy ranking list I enjoyed. And, you know, tonight the haunted house special. So I'm really, really excited, man. I hope all is well with you too. What's up, brother? Ryan's in the Heezy. Ryan, what's going on, my friend? Chilling like a villain. I don't know. I saw you were watching Hatchet Part 3, which is very cool. So, granted, you and I know how I feel about Hatchet, but very cool that you're watching. I was rewatching Dolls the other night, and to me, that has a lot of haunted house qualities without the actual ghost. Yeah, no, definitely. Dolls is an interesting film because Stuart Gordon, I don't know. I always thought Stuart Gordon was just one of the best low-key masters of horror, and that's a really interesting film in his filmography. I would like to. I was going to do a Stuart Gordon show a couple months ago, but my guest, he unfortunately he was going through some rough times, so we ended up putting that on the back burner. But a Stuart Gordon show will come at some point. Whenever he's ready to do a show again, we definitely will be. We are all the way live, Mr. Zetro. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother. Welcome to the show, man. What are you drinking tonight, AJ? I don't know if you saw, but I'm drinking this Kedem grape juice, all right? It says 100% juice, but I'm going to call bullshit on that. I think there's about 3 pounds of sugar in here, and it's a good thing I don't have diabetes because I would need some fucking insulin ASAP. Nice, very cool. Yo, hell yeah, man. Grande loves Hatchet. Oh, I'm a diehard fan. I've always loved the series. I mean, couldn't get enough of it. I'm drinking whiskey as always. It's Thirsty Thursday. Oh, hell yeah, man. Whiskey out the bottle. Not thinking about tomorrow. All right. I'm sorry. No Kid Rock on the show. No Kid Rock. No, none. I love Dolls. It's highly underrated. Yeah, me too, man. You know, you might know this. And usually I'm the son of a bitch that knows this. Is there a special edition of Dolls out? For some reason, I can't think, but I feel like there's not a special edition of that movie out. And that's a crying shame because there should be. Drinking some beer. All right. 1 beer. What? 2 beers. What? Whiskey. What? Tequila. What? Vodka. What? More beer. What? Stone Cold Steve Austin. Anybody? I know Ryan's a fan. But yeah, no. So everybody cheers. No matter what you're drinking, what are you chilling with? We're going to get right into the haunted house special. So cheers to everybody. My Concord Drape. That's good. It's sugary as fuck, but it's pretty damn good. I don't think I've ever seen Dolls. I highly recommend, man. I'm a big Stuart Gordon guy. I really like his films. And he's a guy I sorely miss. I wish, it's a damn shame. But I'd like to cover his films on one of the episodes, somewhere down the road. But tonight, we are going to dive right into it, ladies and gents. We've got 3 haunted house classics and absolutely 0 regrets. So I guess we could start with the one right on top I have here from 1977. This is, how the hell do you describe this movie? This is from filmmaker Nobuhiko Obayashi. This is House from 1977. One of the craziest horror movies I've ever seen in my life. And the back of the box, this is one of the best fucking back of the box descriptions ever. How to describe Nobuhiko Obayashi's indescribable 1977 movie House as a psychedelic ghost tale, a stream of conscientious bedtime story, an episode of Scooby-Doo directed by one Mario Bava. That's my favorite. It's exactly what this is. This is an episode of Scooby-Doo directed by Mario Bava. Any of the above will do for this hallucinatory head trip about a schoolgirl who travels with 6 classmates to her ailing aunt's creaky country home and comes face to face with evil spirits, a demonic house cat, a bloodthirsty piano, and other ghoulish visions. Yes, House. Now, I go way back with this movie. Back before the pre-COVID days, right? Before COVID. Back in the before COVID days, IFC Center in New York City, they would show midnight movies. And whether it be, actually, people forget this, The Human Centipede, that was a midnight movie shown at the IFC Center. And all these sorts of weird art films. And one night I wanted to go. And so me and a buddy, we went down to the IFC Center and they screened this little movie called House. And I had never seen it, never heard of it. And fucking over the next 88 minutes, my fucking mind was blown all over that midnight theater. And I was like, what a weird film. And then a couple years later, Criterion released this Blu-ray edition. And I said, I've got to fucking buy that. I love that movie. And now it's an interesting story as how this got into production before I get into the film itself. The director, he had been almost exclusively a commercial film director his entire life. He directed a lot of commercials and worked with many of the same actresses that star in this film. And at the time he was making these commercials, he was wanting to make a feature-length film. And so he approached the Japanese giants, the Japanese heavyweights known as Toho. Of course, they produced all those famous Godzilla films and horror films. And Toho is like the horror company when it comes to Japan. And this was around the time of about 1974. They were trying to kind of phase Godzilla out of the picture and create some new horror movies. I believe Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla was 74, and then Terror of Mechagodzilla was shortly after that. They knew it was coming to an end, at least the first series of Godzilla films. They wanted to move away from it. And, this director came in and he said, hey, I've got an idea for a movie. I want to make a haunted house movie. And they were like, well, unfortunately, man, no offense, but you've only ever directed television commercials. You don't have any real credentials to make a feature-length film. We don't know if we trust you, and we're in desperate need of a hit right now because Godzilla, who is always somebody we can bank on, he's not going to be in the picture very much longer. And they were very hesitant to give a chance and take a chance on an unknown filmmaker. So they turned him down. They turned him down initially, and he went home and was upset and continued to direct TV commercials. A couple years passed by, and they called him back and said, listen, hey, remember that haunted house movie you wanted to do? We don't want to hire you. We don't think the greatest of you. You're not going to be working for Toho. That was what they told him. They didn't think he was worthy of being part of Toho's production company. But we'll finance the movie if you want to film it and go write a script. And so immediately he kind of scrambled, was like, oh my God, I have to come up with something now. Like, this is a big horror studio company. This is my big chance. And he sat down and his mind was complete blank. He didn't know what to do. How do I write a haunted house film? Where do I start? And so he went to his daughter, who was just preteen, I believe 11 or 12 years old. And he said, hey, what scares you? And he sat down with a pen and paper and he wrote down everything she said. And she said, hey, you know what scares me? Not all this bullshit with monsters and Godzillas and all these things. You know what scares me? When I'm pulling up the fucking water from the well out backside and it feels like, I'm not pulling up a watermelon, I'm pulling up a head. Imagine if that was in a movie. He wrote it down, puts it in this movie. Oh, you know what I'm scared of? When I'm playing the piano and that thing just slams. Imagine if it took one of my fingers off. That's in the fucking movie. You know what I'm scared of? My own reflection. That's in the movie. Like, everything she told him, he used as a scare tactic in this film. And what a genius idea, because I think it's brilliant for a filmmaker to admit when they don't know. I don't know what's scary. I don't know what is going to click with a younger audience because, let's face it, I'm older. So what he did was he asked somebody of youth, what scares you? And that's what he tries to deliver with this film. And, cool enough, this was a very, very big hit with the youth audience when it came out in the late 70s, and thus has become a huge cult film among weird psychedelic horror fans around the world, and me included. I love this movie. I think this is a fucking absolute acid trip. But I always thought it was so interesting, the story of coming to be, and that Toho didn't want anything to do with them, and that Toho really needed a hit. And here comes this filmmaker, Mr. Obayashi, and he just absolutely changed the game for haunted house movies. This is completely different than any other templated haunted house movie. And what I think is the most brilliant thing about this is that he uses every single trick in the book. He uses every single type of filmmaking, every single type of special effect that you can use and throw at the fan, because this is an experimental film, but it's an experimental film that somehow, some way, all kind of flows together. Even though it's all over the place, it's still perfect as is. And I mean, there's so many great things about this. And on the back here, it says, Obayashi used Matei's animation, collage effects. He also uses these amazing painted backgrounds to create a false sense of verisimilitude where, you'll have these girls, they're outside, and you'll have this beautiful fucking backdrop. And if you look closely enough, especially on a high definition Blu-ray, you could tell it's a painted background. But it's gorgeous to look at. And all the special makeup effects he's able to use here. The animation of them, the girls on the train, and some of the filmmaking styles of when we get into the story. they're just unbelievably incredible and innovative and really, I think, ambitious. I admire this film so much for all that it tries. And even if somebody watched this and went, that didn't make any sense, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people like that. It's not the point. It's just it's a grand film. It's got everything in it. It's got laughs, it's got cool characters, it's got fun dialogue, it's got every single trick in the book. And it's a quick time, 88 minutes, you're in, you're out, you're done. I think the world of this movie. I really do. I really like House from 1977. And I get a little bit into the story. So basically, you follow our lead character. Her name is Gorgeous. Yes, I'm not kidding you. All of the main characters, the girls, the 7 girls in this, are named after attributes. One is called Max. She likes to eat. One is called Kung Fu. She's a fucking Kung Fu master. I shit you not. That's the character's name, is Kung Fu. And of course, Gorgeous is the most pretty of the bunch. She is our lead. And we follow her as she goes home from school one day and she sees her father has moved on from her mother, who has passed away years ago. And he says, listen, I found a woman I've fallen in love with. I'd like you to give her a chance. Gorgeous doesn't want to do that. And she kind of rebels and says, hey, I want to visit my mother's sister, my aunt. And she writes her, hey, could me and my friends, could we come visit? I don't want to be at home right now. I don't want to be reminded of home. The aunt the next day sends the letter back. Yeah, sure. Come. So her and the 7 friends, and it's funny, they use 7 because in Japanese culture, that's really the big thing, whether it be the 7 seals, whether it be the 7 samurai. Of course, he wanted to pay homage to those films that he loved and other films that were very ambitious at their time. So he said, screw it. They did 7. I'm doing 7. And screw it. Where Toho didn't want to work with me and didn't think I was worth a damn, I'm going to take the 7 women that I've been shooting commercials with over the past 10 years and put them all in this movie as the stars. Really cool stuff for actresses who had not gotten that cinematic try. And here, all 7 of them get their own chance. And I think that's another really cool thing, that he didn't turn his back and, walk away from the people that helped him get to where he got to. He instead called them in and said, hey, we're doing this together. If we sink, we're sinking together. And if we rise to the top, we're rising to the top together. And I like that. I really do appreciate that. Of course, on the train, you hear the story of the aunt and how her lover, he went off to the war, World War II, of course, and she's waiting for him to come back so they can get married. And of course, he never returns. Thus, she is this old, weak, wheelchair-bound woman. And through these new girls coming into her house, she starts to, in ways, feed upon their youth so she can be reborn and continue to wait for her lover to come home. Really maniacal little plot there for the aunt, but a fun setup, a really fun setup. And where this film has similar means, and this, by the way, this one came first. This one is of course, there's feeding off of the energy of the new young people in the house or whatever. But this one is very much more fun about it as opposed to horrific about it. Like Max, she's eating everything in the house. And then one day, of course, she goes out to pick up the watermelon that's in the well. And we hear a scream. We don't know what happened. Gorgeous comes outside. She's like, what the hell happened to Max? So she's pulling up the thing. And of course, it's fucking Max's decapitated head. And the decapitated head flies around her, bites her on the ass. And, then we're off. I mean, it takes a little while to get the pace going and the ball rolling. But once it does, man, this is the acid trip horror film. It really is. This is a wild movie. This is a movie where a woman gets attacked by mattresses and fucking almost killed by mattresses. This is a movie where the paintings spit out blood from the wall. This is a movie where this one girl, she's playing the piano and all this kind of happy-go-lucky feeling. All of a sudden, the piano bites her fucking fingers off and consumes this girl. And there's these great visuals of this girl trying to push out of the piano wire and getting cuts and all this shit. Really, really fantastic visuals. I mean, fantastic stuff. And very creative, and I think that was the director, Mr. Obayashi. I think that was his best, idea, was to admit that he didn't know, like I was saying before, and really kind of just go batshit with it. and listen to his daughter. Okay, you find this scary? I'm going to put this in the film because I don't know what the fuck kids are going to find scary. So he listened to youth, and in turn, youth really kind of were drawn to this movie. And it's incredible. It really is incredible, the type of, long-lasting feels that this movie has had in the community. I know some famous people that put this movie way over. People like Bill Hader. There's actually, I don't know if people watch the Criterion Closets, when you get these actors and actresses to go into the Criterion collection and pick some of their favorite Criterion movies. He actually had this shirt on and took this Blu-ray and said, this is one of the craziest movies I've ever seen. And of course, he saw it at the IFC Center too. Probably not the same night as me, but still really small world, because of course he was on SNL for years. And of course, he saw this at a midnight screening just like I did. And he was just absolutely enamored by the film. It really is an enamoring movie for sure. Fever Dream House. Yes, House is a fever dream, AJ. I agree. It is one of the most insane movies I've ever seen in my life. It's up there. Oh, I've never seen The Foreign House, only The American House of the Soldier. Well, Mr. Soulless Trenchcoat, we're going to be talking about that tonight too, so do not worry. That's one of my favorites as well. It is really dope. I liked the story to this. Almost bought the house on Criterion sale. Maybe next time. I went with Silence of the Lambs and Sisters by Brian De Palma. I have the Sisters, Brian De Palma. Really good movie. Really good movie. I don't even know if that would be more horror, or that's a true experimental film, but you see a lot of De Palma does the split screen in that. Margot Kidder's fucking terrifying. That's a really good little movie. Sisters. That's a good Criterion Blue too. Fucking amazing transfer. And thank you for showing up, and Mr. Eric. Hey, Internet, it's Eric here. Mr. Eric, cheers to you, my friend. We're drinking grape juice tonight on the Graveyard. What are you drinking, brother? But this is just, it's wild. It really, truly is wild. And every time I watch it, it puts a smile on my face. And I really like the music in the film. It sort of plays throughout. There's not many scenes where you get that silence factor. Like, you get a lot of music throughout a lot of this film. And it's wild. You would have thought this movie had millions and millions of dollars when it comes to a budget. But this was actually a fairly low budget film because Toho had no fucking faith in it. And when it was released, it became a very big hit. And another thing I thought was interesting about this, they initially, before he started filming, they were like, listen, Jaws was a really big hit in America. We want this to be the Japanese version of Jaws. Thus, why, in my opinion, this is the only reason, in my opinion, this is the case. This cover, I really wonder if that was more Toho than the director. I really think that they wanted this to look like, on paper, maybe a killer animal film. And of course, Obayashi, he was not a fan of some of the American ripoffs of Jaws, whether it be William Girdler's Grizzly or Alligator or Orca. He said that those were like lesser imitations, and that's what they really initially Toho wanted him to do. They were like, rip off Jaws, however you want to do it. And he said, I'll have an animal in there, but I'm not doing that, and he gives us this great, memorable, fun haunted house movie that we get here. And House is fantastic. Internet Eric here says, it's my birthday, but I work tomorrow, so it's just a few beers, celebrating more tomorrow night. Cheers. Dude, cheers to you, man. I will drink to that, man. Cheers to Mr. Eric, rocking and rolling, man. Cheers to you. Cheers to a safe weekend, Mr. Eric. I'm drinking Concord. Actually, no, it's Concord grape. Kedem grape juice tonight on the Graveyard. I don't know. I figured to shake it up a little bit, man. Lesser imitation Orca is awesome. I agree with you. Orca is awesome, as is Alligator, and to a degree, I like Grizzly. But it's funny. He when he was told that, he was like not interested in doing that, and I appreciate that, because if he had just made another creature feature trying to rip off Jaws, that's exactly what we would remember it as. Instead, we remember it as this fucking absolute acid trip of a movie. And like the back of it says, like an episode of Scooby-Doo directed by Mario Bava. And it's so true. It's very colorful. It's very vibrant. It's very trippy. There's a lot of shit where you're like, Jesus, that doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of randomness. There's scenes where, some of the girls will be in the house. One of them's having a bad dream, and she dreams eating a watermelon with this random man and a fucking bear. That happens in this movie, fucking randomly. Like, it has some random cuts, but I don't know, man. I think this is just a really cool experiment in the horror genre. And I always thought the world of this movie. I really like this one. I highly recommend you see this if you haven't. Batshit, but the best batshit crazy you can get, because it's a filmmaker that held nothing back, showed all the ambition, and really took notes from the younger generation to appease the younger generation. And he was able to do that with this movie right here. And this movie, dare I say, it stood the grand test of time, because we're still talking about it all these years later. And, you know, I actually would really like to see a lot more from this filmmaker. I think he delved a lot more into different other genres, but this one right here, man, it takes the fucking cake to me. It's a really, really cool little haunted house movie. House, I would give this a solid 8.5 out of 10. Love this movie. Highly recommend. So moving on, though, into our next film of the evening. It's the same title, but it's a different country. It's about almost a decade later. It is from 1986. Yes, this is Steve Miner's House. I know, no, there are two movies called House. It was just funny. I was like, I wonder if anybody's ever compared these two movies, but I don't know. I figured to have them both on the Haunted House show. It's like, why the fuck not? We'll do House, Burnt Offerings. Why the fuck not? House from 1986. Another one I really fucking love. I really enjoy this movie. We can get right into the plot synopsis here as soon as it loads. Let's see. Well, it's not much. A troubled writer moves into a haunted house after inheriting it from his aunt. Yes, House from 1986. So more background, I guess. It's funny. All three of these have very interesting backgrounds. House from 1986, basically, Steve Miner had come off of directing Friday the 13th Part 2 and Part 3. And those kind of rocket launched his career into doing whatever the hell he wanted after taking those two paydays and delivering two really kick-ass slasher films. So he met with his buddy Sean S. Cunningham and he said, you know, what do you want to do next, Steve? What do you think? And Steve Miner said, you know, there hasn't been a Godzilla film in a while. I know it's funny. We're talking about Toho and Godzilla with this being a transitional movie, trying to move away from Godzilla. Before Steve Miner comes and makes this, he wanted to make a Godzilla film himself. So he flew down to Japan. He flies down to Japan and goes to Toho and says, hey, I want the rights to make the first ever Godzilla film in America. And this is the mid-'80s. This is right before Godzilla hit the theaters in Toho for the Godzilla 1985, which is the only Godzilla film from the 1980s, I believe. And he said, hey, I want to bring it to America, and hell, I want to make it in 3D. So part of me is like, wow, like imagine instead of this, we had gotten Godzilla 1986 in fucking 3D directed by fucking Steve Miner. That would have been really freaking cool, man. And part of me is like, that would have been the coolest fucking movie ever. But things didn't happen. Things fell through. They couldn't completely come to an agreement on everything. So that was eventually scrapped. And thus Steve Miner was now looking for work. And he stumbled across a script written by Fred Dekker. Of course, Fred Dekker, we were talking about him in the last episode. He's the director from movies like The Night of the Creeps and, of course, The Monster Squad. Fred Dekker had written this short story where a writer moved into a house and the house was haunted. And it was basically his version or his homage to The Twilight Zone. It was sort of a Twilight Zone script. It was dark. It was eerie. It was the classic motifs of haunted house horror that we've all known to love and love to know. But Steve Miner saw it and was like, I like this, but I feel like it needs a little twist. I think it needs a little something. And so Fred Dekker's good friend, Ethan Wiley, he took a crack at it and he toned up the lightness. He toned up the heart of the movie. And thus it becomes very tongue-in-cheek film instead of your classic quintessential eerie haunted house film. And I think Ethan Wiley, he was so smart in this. Why do you have to always follow a template? Why do haunted houses movies always have to follow that same template? A family moves in, creepy things slowly start to burn, and then, of course, we get maybe a little bit of a payoff. That's pretty much the formula of any good haunted house movie. But Ethan Wiley said, that's cliche. Why don't we who says that we have to do that? Why can't we just have fun with it? And House is the perfect example of a fun 1980s haunted house movie. And I really, that's why I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. Of course, it stars William Katt, who you may remember took this gal to the prom. Of course, Miss Carrie White and Brian De Palma's Carrie. I always remember William Katt from that. He was also on a show called Hero, where he plays a superhero. I love the actor. I think he does a wonderful job in this. He's just so damn likable. Has a good energy to him. Of course, you have Norm from Cheers, played by George Wendt, who at this time, he didn't want to do a movie that was a horror-related film. He was not interested. But he plays sort of the warm, loving, lighthearted neighbor. And I really like his performance in this. There's a scene where he comes up to Roger Cobb, William Katt's character, and he says, "Oh, you know, that lady that lived there, she was a fucking real piece of shit and real whack job, and I bet she fucking killed herself." And William Katt goes, "Well, she was my aunt." And without missing a beat, George Wendt goes, "Oh, well, she had a heart of gold, though." I love that shit, man. So funny. This movie has a wonderful sense of humor to it. I really like Steve Miner and Ethan Wiley's sense of humor to this thing, because it really takes an ordinary film and kind of turns up the volume to make it an extraordinary film. I love the dialogue in this. It's just fantastic. It's a really nice sense of humor. Of course, you have Kay Lenz in this. She plays Roger Cobb's sort of ex-wife, and you understand that their relationship has sort of been broken on due to the fact that their son went missing while staying in this house. And there we kind of try to unravel the mystery as to what happened to the son. And we are, you know, encountering so many crazy things. And this is just a really, really fun time. And I don't know, this is another really grand horror movie. Of course, the Master of Fear is here. Yo, I was asleep. What's up, buddy? How's everything? I was editing my video for the horror channel last night. I was up so late, so today was basically a sleep day. That's nice, man. Hope all is well with you tonight, man. Cheers to you. Yeah, the comedy really shines and balances with the dark plot. Yeah, and it's funny because Fred Dekker for years was not happy about that. He wanted this to be, you know, your quintessential haunted house movie, but this is so much more. Of course, William Katt, he's a struggling writer. He's trying to write about his time in the war, and he has a lot of PTSD flashbacks to those times. And those sequences are fairly well shot by Steve Miner. I really like those sequences. Of course, Richard Moll, of course, Bull from Night Court, he plays his main buddy in the flashbacks, and you slowly start to learn a little bit about his character and that he was left for dead and basically immobilized, sort of like in Forrest Gump, Lieutenant Dan, like what happens to his legs. He's immobilized, and he tells William Katt, "You've got to kill me now. I don't want to be tortured. I don't want to be a prisoner of war." And William Katt can't bring himself to do it, so they take him away, and Richard Moll screams, "I'll get you for this, Roger. I'll get you for this." But he couldn't bring it to him, you know, kill his own friend. He just couldn't come to those terms. And that would be tough for anybody. This is one of those movies, every time I watch it, I think, could I have done that? Like, could I have done that to one of my friends out of love for them, like kill them? I don't think I could, man. I really don't. It's such a horrible situation, but they act it perfectly. William Katt's the sadness in his eyes, his genuine tears, really good stuff. I love that. Let's see. I've seen this film once on cable TV. Don't remember much about it, but I do remember it was called House. Yeah, no, it has the classic House title. This was a huge rental as a kid, along with Fright Night, Day of the Dead, very popular around the schoolyard. Yeah, no, and that's funny. That's Fright Night was 85, Day of the Dead's 85, and this was filmed in 85, released early 86. But I think this is such a fun fucking movie. It has a great sense of humor, like I was saying. There's scenes where he's trying to battle this creature in the closet, and he brings Norman from fucking Cheers. He brings him in and gives him a harpoon gun. He goes, "All right, when I open this door, a fucking giant rabid raccoon is going to jump out, and you just shoot it right in the eyes." And he's yelling at all of this. And I just love George Wendt's face is priceless. He's just like, this guy's fucking nuts. Sure enough, opens the door. This giant fucking practical creature comes out. They shoot it. He shoots it, and it drags him back in. Just really wild. I really liked all the practical makeup effects in this. Of course, today, and they mentioned this in the documentary on this, this is a fantastic addition. I highly recommend people pick this up. There's an hour-plus long making of documentary, and it is so fantastically in depth. They got almost everybody to come back and talk about this movie. Really cool stuff. Of course, I thought another cool thing, Harry Manfredini does the music. So instead of doing more Friday the 13th films, this was around the time of Part 5, where Harry Manfredini said, I was a little bit burnt out of doing Friday the 13th films, so it was fun to tackle something else. And you can definitely, if you listen closely enough, you can hear the Friday the 13th vibes the score of this movie has. But that's all due to Harry Manfredini. More Friday the 13th connections. Kane Hodder was the stunt coordinator on this film. And there are a lot of scenes where he's in the bodysuits, of course. There's a great scene where William Katt, he's battling this giant demon thing in a purple dress, and it's pretending to be his wife at first. He, of course, shoots it, doesn't work. All of these fucking giant, like, sharp tools come and stab the shit out of it, decapitates it, and he's like, yeah! And, of course, now he's just trying to dispose of the body, and you get this great, like, fucking 50s song go, you're no good, baby, you're no good. Fucking fantastic. You're No Good by Betty Everett, as he's trying to put all of these body parts in bags and bury them in the backyard. Really comical sequence. He's trying to do this, and then all of a sudden there's this beautiful fucking Czech Republic woman using his pool. Beautiful fucking woman, man. I gotta get her name here because she didn't act in too much else, I don't believe, but she's a total 11 out of 10. Mary Stavin as Tanya. Holy shit, man. What a beautiful woman. Rocking a onesie fucking bikini, man. Beautiful. He's trying to bury the body, and there's this hand grabbing him. Of course, it's Kane Hodder's hand, and he's in this makeup. And basically, Kane Hodder, being the pro that he was, he said, you know, when I'm in the makeup, hit me over the head with this fucking shovel. You know, when she goes to walk away, start hitting me with this real shovel. And he beat the shit out of Kane Hodder. And that, I always thought that was just a cool on the scenes, you know, story about Kane Hodder being like, dude, like, let me fucking just beat the shit out of me, bro. Like, who cares, you know? And that's the trooper Kane Hodder is. This movie really is just fantastic. And it really goes to show you that Steve Miner was so much more than just a slasher filmmaker at the time, because that was really the stigma he was trying to break out of, right? Like, he had made Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3. They were beloved. I'm not positive they asked him to come back to do Part 4, but I know he wanted to do that Godzilla film. And when that all fell apart, he was like, well, shit, what am I going to do? And instead of doing straight up horror again, he did horror comedy and blended these elements into, I think, the perfect horror comedy. I think the humor in this movie works, but when the shit needs to get serious, it gets serious. I really like the emotional torment that William Katt's character feels when he's trying to find his son. And he can't for the life of him find the son. And he slowly but surely kind of pieces things together. And at one point breaks the medicine cabinet. And it's this giant, like, void of blackness. And he crawls in and just has to try to find his son. Really cool. It's something that I would like to think James Wan was inspired to do when he made movies like Insidious. Like, the very ending of that film is the father going into the further to find his son caged up by this demon. And that's pretty much the case here. He goes into this void and finds his son caged up by this demon. So I don't know. I don't know if James Wan took a page out of this book. If he did, smart page to take, man, because this is a great movie. I really like it. It wouldn't be a Graveyard without a musical interlude. Yeah, no, I'm a very musical guy. Speaking of Jason, I've been talking to some people, and I might be making a little short film about Jason, just to go make sure all the people I've been talking to are on board with it. That's very cool, man. I hope that all goes very, very well. It wouldn't be yeah, no, absolutely. We're always rocking musical interlude. Yeah, no, this whole movie is fun, man. And like I was saying about the sense of humor, there's a scene where he sees his son from the afterlife, and he's like, Dad, and the dad's watching TV, and he just takes the remote and turns off his own son. He's like, I don't need that shit right now. I'm turning this off, man. I got enough fucking problems. There's a funny sequence where the woman from across the street, this Czech Republic lady, she comes in, she's like, listen, why don't we play tonight? And he's like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll play with you, sure. She shows up at the fucking door with her fucking kid. And she's like, you got to play with my son tonight. You're going to watch him. I'm going to go out, have a good time. And this shit's your problem now. And she kind of leaves him. And there's this whole sequence where this giant hand is like on the kid's back. And he's trying to get the fucking hand off the kid's back, flushing it down the toilet. Really just fun, really fun. And William Katt, he sells a lot of the expressions with his eyes. I mean, he's just a great facial expression seller, just fantastic actor. I really, really like him. And then, of course, you have some crazy fucking scenes where George Wendt hears a gunshot. Of course, William Katt shot this demon, and George Wendt calls the police. And this is the thing I liked about George Wendt's character in this. He wasn't like out for himself. He was just an honest to dear good guy. And he calls in, he says, listen, I just heard a gunshot. I think it might have been a suicide attempt. Please go check on my friend. And they go to check on him. He also calls Kay Len's character, the ex-wife, hey, you know, I'm really worried about Roger. He's acting very weird. He's telling me there are fucking rabid raccoons in the closet. Like he's a very sweet, genuine guy. I really like George Wendt. I think movies nowadays, they really miss characters like the George Wendt character in this. Just the fucking chill, blue collar, nice guy that stands nothing to gain, not a scumbag, not a sleazeball, just a good, honest to God guy with a heart of gold. She had a heart of gold. I love George Wendt's character in this. I really do. This is the whole supporting cast do a really excellent job. I got to see this film again. It sounds like a good time from what you guys are saying. Yeah, no, it's a really good one, man. It's no fear. I may have to watch it too again tonight. Yeah, no, my buddy Brian just shot me over the one sheet poster of this movie. So I'm really excited. I want to put it up in the room. I've got, of course, we got Maniac, Dawn of the Dead. I really want to find room to put up the house poster because I really love this movie. It's a great product of the 1980s. The Undead of Night, Mr. Tom is here. Tom, what's going on, good brother? Ding dong, you're dead. Love House. Dude, yeah, I love this movie. This is 80s classic cinema, in my opinion. To me, a haunted house classic. It really is. And you know, it's funny. I think at the time, this was a modest hit. Like when it opened up #1 at the box office, it made an okay amount of money. I could double check the amount of money it made at the box office. It wasn't like a smash hit, but it was enough of a hit to make a sequel, which came out the following year, I believe. Yeah, this grossed about $19.4 million in the United States and Canada. I don't know. I think this is a really awesome little movie. And it's one that I always go back. And this is one of those horror movies, to me, it's a good comfort horror movie. Like, I don't really have to think too much. I can just kind of turn my brain off, enjoy, be entertained, and laugh a little, be horrified a little, enjoy the special makeup effects, the practicality, the really good acting. I don't know. I love this movie. I think this is a really fantastic little flick. And one of my all-time favorite haunted house movies. If somebody said a top 10, like make a top 10 haunted house movies, I bet you they wouldn't think of this one first. Like other movies come to mind first, right? Like George C. Scott's in The Changeling and movies like The Haunting and The Uninvited. Those movies come to mind first. But call me crazy, this would probably be in my top 10. I think all three of these would be in my top 10. I really like House, too. This would probably be in my top 10 haunted house movies, too, just because of how innovative and ambitious it is. It's just so much fun to watch. And this one, too, this one's no exception. I really like Ethan Wiley's idea to kind of turn the haunted house cliches on their head and make something more fun and lighthearted and easy for the whole family to enjoy. I actually had a really cool experience seeing this on the big screen. I saw this on the All Night Horror Movie Fest that I went to like 3 years ago, I believe. And they showed 8 movies back to back, all 35 millimeter. It was Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, Creepshow 2, Hellraiser, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, then this movie, The Stuff, oh God, what the fuck else? Night of the Living Dead, and Blood Feast. That's right. Those were the 8 movies. But this one came on really late. I mean, it was like 4:30 in the morning. Packed ass theater watching horror all night. And it kind of woke everybody up. It's one of those movies you can't get bored watching this. It's just such a good pace to the film, a very likable quality about it. I don't know, man. I really will never forget that night in the theater. And when George Wendt came on the screen, everybody in the theater, Norm! Just very fun time, man. I almost wish I could go back right now and watch it with that same crew again because it was just a very fun night at the movies. And House is one that I have really always really liked. And I think it's a perfect horror movie for anybody of any age. And William Katt said this in the documentary. It's the perfect like starter horror movie. Like if you have kids and you know you're debating, should I break them into horror? Should I not break them into horror? What the hell do we start with? Do we start Fulci? Do we start Argento? Do we start Carpenter? Start Miner. Start House. Maybe that's a good kind of, you know, gateway film into the wonderful world of horror. And I love House for that. 9 out of 10 for me. I love this movie. Highly recommend. Let's see. Wasn't there a second one? I think I saw Decker Shadow have a House 2 review. Yes. So the second one is directed by Ethan Wiley, the writer of this film. I like the second House, and to extent, I like the third House, even though it wasn't initially going to be a part of the House series. Of course, the initial title was The Horror Show instead of House 3, and then they retitled it later. The one I don't like is House 4. Now, this is 4 movies. They have never made another House film. House 4, William Katt returns. And instead of this having a son, he has a daughter now. He's basically still Roger Cobb, but he's like a different... It's almost like the Halloween movies where, you know, after Halloween 4, they wanted to write out the Jamie Lloyd character. So now Jamie Lee Curtis has a son. And then all years later now, instead of fucking having Josh Hartnett as her son, she's got a daughter who's a bitch. And she's got a daughter who's a bitch. And let's not go down that road. But that's basically what happened with House 4. Too many cooks in the kitchen. And I will spoil this. They do kill William fucking Katt very early in House 4. And it's fucking horrible. Don't watch House 4. I think there's overseas, there's a 4-pack of all 4 House films, all on Blu-ray high def. It's out of print now, as far as I'm aware. Well, at least the one in the States is out of print now. The one overseas might still be in print. So if you have a Region 2 player, you can go ahead. I prefer the first one the best. The other two, I'm not spending crazy money for House 2 and 3 on Blu-ray. It's just, to me, this is a great movie. It didn't really need a sequel. I'm happy there has a sequel, and I don't mind the sequels. But to me, this is really the one and only when it comes to these movies. Yeah, I think there were 3 fear, but it's actually 4. Haven't seen The Changeling. Changeling's really good. A lot of people will probably say that's like a top 10 haunted house movie. It's funny enough, I believe Neve Campbell has said The Changeling is her favorite horror movie of all time, which is pretty cool. It was a scream cream, royalty, if you will. I really like Neve Campbell, so that's a pretty cool one. I like that movie. I have The Changeling on DVD. I wouldn't say I put it as high as most people, but it's a good film. I like George C. Scott. And the director, Peter Medaic, he did a good job. Total badass lineup. Question, would you want to be killed in a horror movie? Sure. I'd love to be killed in a horror movie. The question is now, who would want to kill me into a horror movie? That would be the real question. Maybe, let's say, okay, let me help. I don't know. Let me try to re-answer this question. To answer your questions, yes. And then the question now would be who? Who would kill me in a horror movie? Who would I like to be killed by? I don't know. That's tough, man. I mean, the easy answer would be Jason. Angela from fucking Sleepaway Camp 3. That would be really cool. I don't know. I don't know who I'd want to kill me. Maybe a classic Universal monster. I don't know. Speaking of the Undead of Night says House and the Frighteners are a good double bill to get kids into scary, fun horror. Totally. I love the Frighteners. Peter Jackson was a genius, man. I really love him. I wish he'd return to the genre of horror. The fourth one's shitty. The fourth one's very shitty. If you like the original movie, I couldn't see how you'd like the fourth one. It's a total piece of shit. But without further ado, we move into our final film of the Haunted House special. My all-time favorite haunted house movie. And I was saying this in the outro, or the intro rather, that a lot of people have that one movie where they say, I think this is the most underrated film of all time, or underrated horror movie of all time. I fucking feel that way with this movie. I really do. I really think this is arguably the most underrated horror movie of all time. I'm that strong about it because I think it's a perfect movie. And it is Dan Curtis's film from the year 1976. This is his film, Burnt Offerings. Yes, Burnt Offerings. I'll never forget the first time I saw this movie. Now, way back in the day, and by way back in the day, I mean early 2000s. For my older viewers, way back in the day was the early 2000s. Way back in the day, I remember TV Land, of all fucking stations, ran a Dan Curtis horror marathon. They showed Trilogy of Terror 2, which I also have the Blu-ray of that. I love Trilogy of Terror 2. And they showed this little movie as the finale, Burnt Offerings. Now, you may remember Dan Curtis from a little show called Dark Shadows. Of course, he was the creator of Dark Shadows. He was also the creator of the series Night Stalker. I mean, he was an absolute master of television horror in the late 60s, early 70s. And when I watched these movies, I mean, the trilogy of terror films and this, I was scared shitless. They caught me at the right age and they blew me away. I was terrified by them. And, you know, years and years went on. I grew up, and the only one of the three I ever really heard talked about was Trilogy of Terror. And Trilogy of Terror, I really like. I really enjoy the film. Of course, we all remember Karen Black playing a part, 4 different parts in it. She's also in this. She's the lead in this, Karen Black, who I think is one of the great scream queens of all time. But Trilogy of Terror was really the only one that got its due. And I was like, damn, like, why doesn't anybody talk about Burnt Offerings? So, you know, here I am years and years later, and I'm really going to put this movie over. I promise you that. Back in the day was 1985 for me, bro. 1985. I don't even think my parents had met yet, brother. No, I'm just kidding. Hell yeah. Burnt Offerings is amazing. That fucker with the casket fucked me up when I saw this. Really cool. Trench number 1. I agree with you. Really cool interview with that guy. I believe his name's Anthony. Oh shit. What's his damn name? Anthony James. He plays the chauffeur in this. Scared me to death. One of the scariest horror characters of all time. Ryan Larkin's in the house. Ryan Larkin. Hey, Grande. What's up, brother? Ryan, if you guys haven't checked it out, Ryan read an awesome, scary story to tell in the dark. It dropped on Monday. Really cool. Is Something Wrong is the title. He did a really, really great job. And Ryan's brother, Connor, his cover of the Her song just dropped tonight on the channel. So the Larkin brothers, they dominated the scary stories to tell in the dark. Thank you both for that. You guys did a really, really great job. Thank you for all the time and efforts you put into it, because they came out great. But back to Burnt Offerings. Now, the first thing I tell people when I try to convince them this is one of the most underrated movies ever is, first off, the cast. We have Karen Black, who is, to me, one of the great horror scream queens of all time. We have Oliver Reed. Yes, Oliver Reed, one of my favorite fucking actors ever. Of course, I always loved him in The Brood. I think he just steals The Brood. He's so good in that movie. We have Bette Davis, who, for my money, is the greatest actress of all time. Whether it be All About Eve, whether it be The Nanny, whether it be Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, whether it be Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte, I love you till I die. I love Bette fucking Davis, all right? For my money, the greatest actress that ever did it. I really do believe that. Of course, Burgess Meredith in a very small role. Everybody hears Burgess Meredith and goes, oh, is he in the whole thing? It's a very small role. I'm not even going to tease you. He's in one scene. I promise. It's early on the film, too. And, of course, I believe Eileen Heckert. Yeah, Eileen Heckert, who also was nominated for an Oscar. Honestly, I'm not too familiar with her work, but she's an Academy Award-nominated person, so she must be acting worth some kind of a fuck. But basically, I guess I can read the brief plot synopsis of this that I have loaded up here. And then, as I said, that I've unloaded. A family moves into a large old mansion in the countryside, which seems to have a mysterious and sinister power over its new residents. Yes, Burnt Offerings. The first time I checked this out, I absolutely just was terrified by it and was blown away by it. And I felt that this is the template that all great haunted house movies should follow. And there's been a lot of haunted house movies I've liked, whether it be the two I just talked about, whether it be the Amityville Horror, movies like The Conjuring. There's a lot of good haunted house movies out there. But this one, for me, takes the cake. I think this is the perfect haunted house horror movie. Karen Black, Oliver Reed, and their son, they want to, move into this house for the summer. And, of course, Burgess Meredith and Eileen Heckert, they kind of butter them up. Oh, there's this, there's that. You can fix the house up, all this nonsense. There's one catch, though. Our mother is upstairs. She's very ill. You need to feed her a couple times a day. Otherwise, you're going to get this house for a great price. You're going to have a wonderful summer. There's a pool outside. There's a greenhouse. Everything's dead right now, but if you put enough time and effort into it, maybe, just maybe by the end of the summer, everything will be back kicking up again. And it's a fantastic setup. I love how Burgess Meredith and Eileen Heckert sort of talk them into the situation of taking this house. Because on paper, who wouldn't want to take this nice, lovely summer house? Of course they do, and things start going horribly wrong and horribly horrifying. There's a scene in this that absolutely to this day shakes me to my core. Oliver Reed and the son, they're playing in the pool. They're playing like wrestling, and he's throwing the son around. Shit fathers and sons do in pools. And I actually remember back in the day when I was a kid, my uncle and me, we were big superhero fans. So I was always Spider-Man because I was small and agile, and he was always the Incredible Hulk. And we'd fight each other. He'd throw me across the pool. I'd pretend to web him in the eyes. I remember he would fucking pretend to turn back into Bruce Banner, and that's when I'd beat the shit out of him, Shit like that. So I could relate to this scene right then and there because I'd played shit like that in the pool, roughhousing with whoever in the pool. And there's this part where fucking Oliver Reed, he almost just snaps into this like coma-like trance, and he basically tries to drown and kill his own son. And Bette Davis is screaming from the pool. She's like, "Stop! What are you doing? Stop!" Karen Black is upstairs, and she hears the whole thing going on. She's like, "Oh my God!" She has to run into the pool and kind of separate them. And he bashes Oliver Reed in the face, bloody nose, all this stuff. And I'm just like, "Oh my God, this guy just tried to murder his own son." Like, oh my God, man. It's horrifying. It's so horrifying. It's close to home because, I used to just horse around with my father and my uncle in the pool too. So it's very relatable. Haven't seen this one, but I'm always ready to check out a underrated horror film. Fear, I couldn't recommend this any more to anybody, man. I highly recommend you check this out. It's fantastic. Morbid Heart Designs. That's a name I haven't seen in a while. How are you? Happy Roctober, Shocktober, October, my lady. Is this haunted house special focusing on haunted house movies? Love the theme of so. Hell yeah. We discussed already the two House films, of course, House from the United States, directed by Steve Miner, and House, directed by Mr. Obayashi from Japan. Really love these two movies. But this one's my favorite right here. I really love Birth Offering. So hope all is well with you. Of course, cheers. We're drinking grape juice on the graveyard tonight. I don't know what you got, but we're drinking grape juice on the show tonight. Let's see. Here's a question I have for you. Rather make a sequel to Friday the 13th or Sleepaway Camp? If I had the money to bring Pamela Springsteen in and she would do it, I would make a Sleepaway Camp sequel tomorrow. I would quit my job and make a Sleepaway Camp, a true Sleepaway Camp 4 tomorrow. I would do it. I would really do that. Burnt Offerings is a great old movie. Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. I really, really like Burnt Offerings. And we're going to go way into this. So I'm excited. Drowning. Yeah, man. Like drowning your own fucking son. Like, what the hell, man? Like, you don't expect to see that in a film like this. Like, usually it's, things in the house, blah, blah, blah. But to turn the father right off the bat against his own son and almost kill, and he realizes, he's like, oh my God, why did I try to do that? Morbid, been but of a slump, but coming back slowly. Dude, always good to hear that. Gonna check it out soon. Got it as a birthday gift for my niece. Oh, hell yeah, man. That's awesome. I really want to hear your thoughts on it because, a lot of people, they've told me I'm crazy. They've told me that it's boring. I don't agree, man. I think this is a fucking masterpiece. I'm doing great, been super busy, but making time for spooky season things. Hell yeah. Yeah, I saw you did like your own art. I don't know if it was a class or it was fantastic. I saw it on your Instagram story. That was really, really cool. Always cool to get artistic during spooky season. I definitely want to be carving some pumpkins next week. That's like I want to get a nice like spooky pumpkin I want to carve. I feel like that'll be a lot of fun to do. If you had the choice to make a true Sleepaway Camp 4 or erase Creepshow 3 from existence, which would you choose? Wow. I would like the money to make a movie. I really would. I hate Creepshow 3, but I don't know. It's been in existence for 15 years now. It's just like I would like to my own crack at making a movie. Granted, I wouldn't want to make a sequel or a remake or anything. If I had my money to make something, I would want to do something original. I'm so sick of these reboots and remakes and established names, and I'm so sick of it. I just want originality. I really do. I would really, I try to, take a book out of Mr. Obayashi's book and be ambitious and be, innovative and try something new, whether it fails miserably or whether it goes over like Rover. I would love to try something new. That's just me, man. That's the point I'm at with horror right now. I really want something new. Take whatever, totally, man. Take whatever time you need. But some of the scare sequences in this are great. Of course, Bette Davis, it's definitely older Bette Davis in this movie that we get. And you see, as this film goes on, she slowly but surely is sort of starting to decay in this haunted house. And you get the sense that this house is sort of feeding off of whatever life energy she has left. And she's slowly but surely, becoming brittle and losing color in her face. It's little details like this that I love. And you notice, if you have an eye for this sort of thing, especially if you're big, with scenery, stuff like that, you'll notice that as she starts to sort of decay, there's certain flowers in the greenhouse that start to blossom. Really cool. And that's definitely done on purpose. It's through her starting to die, this house is starting to, be reborn. And I thought that was just such a very eerie theme to take in this. And Bette Davis, being the great actress that she is, she sells that body horror perfect. There's a scene where she's in the bed and she's brittle and she's old and she's trying to turn over. She turns and her whole arm just snaps. She's just trying to move over. Oh my God, it snaps and she's screaming in pain, and Oliver Reed is trying to be there for his mother. And then we get this fantastic dream sequence of this creepy chauffeur, of course, played by Anthony James, and he has this gothic, creepy smile. And he shows up, knocks on the door, and then just runs with a casket at Bette Davis. Fantastic scare sequence. Fantastic. Because it's a perfect building of suspense. And you don't really necessarily get the craziest of payoffs. Like, he runs at her with the coffin, and then you get the idea that she's died. But, oh my God, it is the visuals, that nightmarish visual of seeing somebody outside, from the floor below and then coming up to get you. It's your time to go. Really, really scary stuff, man. I think the scare sequences are just fantastic. Yes, I'm doing paint-alongs, and I just finished designing November's and December's paintings. Thanks for noticing. It was so much fun. It makes me happy to see others enjoy art. Yes, and if you're interested, now my friend, she is fantastic with art. She does what's called 31 Days of Inktober. And every single day she drops something that she's drawn or painted. And it is absolutely fantastic. Ryan, I don't know if Ryan's still here, but Ryan is good friends with her too. She is just super talented. Remind me if you can, I will send you the link to her Instagram page. Her art is fantastic and it's very original. Very, very cool stuff. It's funny. I'm jealous of people who are very good with art. Just because I'm so bad with it, but I can appreciate good art. At least I like to think I can appreciate good art. But man, she is so talented, man. She's really, and she's great. She can act. I mean, she's so multi-talented. She's fantastic. Let me see. Ditto to all the detail things mentioned. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love the premise of this film. It is very unique. It is really unique. It's a different type of haunted house movie. It's a slow burn, but I don't know. I think there's just so much to this I really enjoy. I'm also doing Inktober. I'm just behind on doing them. Okay, yeah, no, and I couldn't imagine coming up with something new every day, new, creative, and visually appealing. That's got to be the hardest thing. But she somehow does it every single day. I don't know how she does it. Sad part is, there's people out there like me who want to make stuff that's somewhat original, like my zombie film, but most of us don't have the money to do it. Yeah, man, that's the thing. Yeah, if I was a millionaire, sure, I'd love to do all these great extravagant things. But, I think in a lot of ways, I've learned a lot to just enjoy today, enjoy what you have. Especially when I was really sick with COVID, I really, you definitely don't take things for granted at all. Not that I took them that much for granted for before, but it's just human nature, man. I don't know. I'm in a good place. I have a good job. I have good people around me. Am I ever going to be doing YouTube for a living or making movies for a living? Probably not. But you know what? It's damn fun as a passion, and I love it for that. It's my number one passion and hobby to do this on the side, man. And don't let anybody tell you can never do your passions on the side, because they're very important, man. Passions, it's what makes the world go around, my friend. I'd love to see. Oh, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I promise. I will send it to you. I promise, because she is – I mean, I granted, I guess I'm biased because I'm friends with her, but Leanne is so talented. She's absolutely fantastic. But back to some of the scare sequences in this. I mean, God, I could gush about this movie all day long. There's a slow sort of burn with Karen Black's character as she's sort of becoming obsessed with the mother upstairs. And there's this great music box score in this movie. Do, 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 do. Really creepy. It's just straight out of a music box. And I love the music in this. I think it's done by Bob Colbert, who also worked with Dan Curtis for pretty much over 30 years. They worked together, those two guys. Bob Colbert does a fantastic job with the music in this film. That score, it haunts me to this day. It really does. It's just so it's haunting. It just kind of makes the back of your, the hair on your neck stand up, if you will. It's very scary. There's a very interesting sequence where I love everybody with haunted house movies. Well, why wouldn't you just leave the house, Grande? Oliver Reed tries in this movie. Oliver Reed grabs the son in the middle of the night and says, listen, I don't care about your mother anymore. She's fucking going Looney Tunes. We need to get the fuck out of Dodge. So he gets his son in the car. They go to drive away. And all of a sudden, all of the shrubbery and plants and vines stop them from doing so. A very Evil Dead-esque scene, of course, when the tree rapes that woman. When the vines grab her and stuff. Instead of being raped, they're grabbed and their car is stopped and Oliver Reed is tangled up. Really horrific because they do try to leave and it's almost like you're stuck here, buddy. Like, good try, but you cannot leave. Very creepy stuff. Very, very unsettling. It's just wonderfully done. I think Oliver Reed is great in this. I think Karen Black is fantastic as well. A couple behind the scenes stories. Karen Black was actually 4 months pregnant when she signed on to do this movie, and they really wanted to hide that fact. So a lot of the film, she's wearing heavier clothes, even though this was shot in like the middle of the summer. So I wonder if this must have been uncomfortable for her in some ways, wearing those heavy clothes as opposed to wearing summer attire. I thought that was interesting. Sadly enough, now this is really sad. They actually had to halt production on this movie for about a month. They got delayed. Dan Curtis, the director, his daughter, unfortunately at the time she was experimenting with hardcore drugs, and she had taken angel dust and claimed, and this is a true story, she got to the roof of whatever building they were all hanging out in. She screamed, "I can fly," and jumped off the fucking building and died at the age of 20 years old. Such a horrible story. And if you know how this movie ends, you know how uncomfortable that must have been for Dan Curtis to shoot after the fact of that. Because, of course, they halted production, they came back, and one of the final scenes in this movie is Oliver Reed falling from the top of the house to his death. And it's really must have been very eerie for him to shoot that after the passing of his daughter, dying the same exact way. Very, very unnerving. And I couldn't imagine how uncomfortable that must have been for Dan Curtis. But Dan Curtis really got it, man. Like, Dan Curtis is one of those guys, like the film, he's very underrated. Like, we remember the Zuni fetish doll of Trilogy of Terror, but we don't really discuss Dan Curtis as a master of horror, and I think he was. Look at the Dead of Night anthology. Look at the Bobby segment in Trilogy of Terror 2. I'm here, Bobby. I mean, that's one of my favorite horror anthology segments of all time. Dark Shadows, a historically significant horror television show. One of the first horror soap operas that there ever was. That was created by Dan Curtis. Of course, The Night Stalker, another fantastic show. Dan Curtis was absolutely fantastic when it came to creating great horror content. And I think Burnt Offerings is his magnum opus. I really do. And unfortunately, it's one of the only films he ever made that went to a theater. And that's a crying shame because I think he made so many good works that were worthy and capable of a theatrical run that for whatever reason were decided to fit better for TV. And that's unfortunately what happened with a lot of it. But this was the one in the few that did make it to theaters. And man, I would have given anything to see this on a theater back in the day. And this film has a very distinct look to it. And what I mean by that is it's not really a glossy film. In a lot of ways, this is actually shot, a lot of this film is shot in soft focus. And what soft focus is, if you don't know, a lot of the scenes, they'll have this kind of whitewashed background. and it's almost unclear when you're watching it. Watching it back in the day in standard def, there were some scenes where you're like, damn, this is really like almost like watching it through a dirty window. And that's why I was very intrigued to pick up this Blu-ray. I was like, did they clear any of that up? But at the same time, that will hurt the film if they clear any of that up. Thankfully, they don't. That's all left in there. That soft focus that gives that kind of eerie drop to this entire movie and helps with the overall aesthetic and feel. That's still here in this Blu-ray. Also, for what it's worth, Arrow has a Blu-ray release of this, but it's Region 2, so I don't know how many of you have Region 2 players, but this is the Region 1 edition from Kino Lorber. It's a fantastic edition, has a bunch of special features. Really recommend people, if you're a fan of this movie, I would say pick this Blu-ray up. And it's on sale right now. Kino Lorber is doing this big sale, so this you get it for cheap now until the end of the month. Undead of Night. Dan Curtis also did Dead of Night. Yes, exactly. I just mentioned that one. I really like that one. I like the first story where the guy goes back in time. The second story is my favorite. Bobby is so fantastic. I don't know Undead of Night if you've seen Trilogy of Terror 2, but he remade that segment in Trilogy of Terror Part 2, and it's even better, in my opinion. It's so fantastic. I love it. Sounds like a good film. I hope I'm able to find it. It should be like on Amazon. I think it would be on Amazon Prime. Great, I don't know. I didn't check. This is I actually own all three of these movies, so I honestly didn't bother to check if any of them were on social media. But I'm a big fan. I highly recommend Dev. Be right back. Okay. Damn, don't do drugs. Yeah, no, horribly sad story. I mean, like I couldn't imagine, losing somebody that near and dear to, a suicide, an accidental suicide, and basically having to film a scene exactly like that. Like that must have just been horrific for Dan Curtis, man. It really must have been. You do have an interview on here with the screenwriter, William F. Nolan, and he does not hold back. He is quite a fun interview on this. He discusses all the subtext of the film, explaining the ins and outs, how the house is feeding on them, and Karen Black is slowly but surely becoming this woman she's taking care of upstairs. He really does kind of put it into layman's terms for you. Granted, it's an easy movie to understand, but I thought it was a very, very interesting interview. He also tells a bunch of fun behind-the-scenes stories where Oliver Reed and Bette Davis hated each other. So much so, Bette Davis was being a little bit of a diva in this film. She wanted all of her food brought to her on like this cart to her trailer, and she didn't want to be bothered. One day, Oliver Reed, pissed drunk, shows up to the set and sees the cart. And there was two carts, and he said to his buddy, he goes, "I bet you I can ride that cart faster than you." And the other was like, "What?" Oliver Reed jumps on this cart and starts pedaling with it like it's a fucking scooter. And Bette Davis's lunch goes flying all over the fucking place. Bette Davis comes out and apparently cuts a fucking promo chewing out Oliver Reed. "You are the most worthless, despicable human being I have ever worked with." And she hated him. She hated Karen Black. She apparently said that Karen Black did not take the role seriously enough, which Bette Davis, I love you. I think you're the best actress ever, but bullshit. Karen Black is great. Karen Black is one of my favorite all-time fucking horror film, just period actresses. I love Karen Black. She's so fucking quirky, man. I love her. There's also a funny story, and I see Trench enjoys that. Yeah, no, for real, man. That's crazy. I haven't seen Trilogy of Terror 2 yet, but I will now. Another one, it's on sale. The Kino Lorber sale, that's another one on sale. Highly recommend. It's really cool. They do a sequel to the Zuni Fetish segment. They do the Bobby remake, which stars the kid in it is from my hometown. Really cool. And he's since passed on, Blake Herron. Sadly, he died of accidental overdose, which I thought he was a great actor, especially in that segment. And the first segment is one of my favorites too, the Graveyard Rats. Really good. It stars the same actress in all three skits, Lisette Anthony. She has these great glowing green eyes. She's just great, man. You can't keep her eyes off her. She's just a fantastic lead actress in that film. Also, Dan Curtis went on to do Local Cities College, Syracuse University, which I find very cool. Yeah, no, that's totally cool, man. What is the film called? I'm trying to look it up and see if I can find it. Burnt Offerings. That's the name of this. Burnt Offerings, my friend. But more behind the scenes story. Of course, there's a little kid in this film. And one night he was up late. Of course, when you're a kid actor back in the day, you have to sign releases to work at night. And the mother was cool enough to sign the release. And at night, Oliver Reed, the cast and crew were chilling. And this kid was just sitting at the table kind of playing with his thumbs. Oliver Reed, being the notorious drinker that he was, said, "Hey, kid, pull up a seat next to me." Pull up a seat next to him and poured him an entire glass of wine. And when you're fucking not even 10 years old, that wine's going to fuck you up. This kid got drunk off his ass and apparently was fucking going nuts. And then the mother freaked out on Oliver Reed. "You son of a bitch, blah, blah, blah." Really funny stuff, man. I just love Oliver Reed. Just like causing all this havoc and chaos and shit. And just, I don't know. I thought that was really funny. And he's a guy I just sorely miss. I love him, man, in movies. The thing with Oliver Reed, he's got a great intensity to him. He's got such a good intensity. His eyes. I mean, the guy just, he oozes charisma and fucking intensity. That's why I really like Oliver Reed, especially in this movie. Because at first you're like, oh my God, I don't know if we're with him because he's just trying to drown his own son. But a lot of the horror and the fear of this movie is seen through his eyes. And there's a lot of dark shit in this. There's a scene where the son is sleeping and the house kind of locks all the doors and it tries to gas the son. Like a lot of like crazy shit that you wouldn't do to kids now. Like they tease the fact of the son being fucking gassed to death. Horrifying, really horrifying shit. And I think, the thing that really puts this movie over the top for me is the finale. And of course, the finale where he's convinced Karen Black, "Listen, we need to get out of here. I know this is hard for you, but we need to get out of here." And she agrees begrudgingly. He believes that if they all leave together, maybe they'll get past this barrier. They get to the car. All seems like it's going to go well. And Karen Black says, "Wait a minute. I have to tell the old lady we're leaving. It would only be fair if I tell the old lady we're leaving." Oliver Reed, "No, don't, please, please." He's had it up to here. He really sells the fear. He's like, "Please, just start the car. I want to go." Karen Black, "It'll be just a minute." She goes up. And Dan Curtis works the suspense. Some would say it takes too long, but I think he works every last drop of suspense out of this scene. Karen Black goes up to the room. Oliver Reed gets out of the car, impatiently honking the horn. He decides, all right, I'm going to go up. He goes up, enters the room, and he sees the old woman sitting in the chair. "Excuse me, have you seen my wife?" Turns around, and it's Karen Black in all of this old woman makeup. And they give her these bright blue, like Rey Mysterio contact lenses. And she gives my favorite line of the movie. "I've been waiting for you, Ben." Fucking, when I was a kid, I had a hard time sleeping after that scene. Like, it scares the shit out of me to this day. And she kind of gets up and just chases him. Oh my God, bro. Every single time that gets me. Karen Black, just horrifying in that scene. And then, of course, you see Oliver Reed take the fucking swanton bomb of fate, flies out of this window, smashes into the car. Crazy amount of gore and glass all over this fucking kid's face. This dad has just been murdered in front of his son. And the kid's screaming, "Oh my God!" He runs out of the car screaming like a girl. He's like, Mom, are you up there?" He's looking. All of a sudden, this fucking chimney cracks in half, and all of the rubble and bricks of the chimney crush this fucking kid into a pancake. Holy shit, man. One of the craziest final 10 minutes of any horror movie ever. It's just like, holy moly. And then, of course, you hear Burgess Meredith and Eileen Heckert going, "No, I think we picked the right thing. And look how great the house is. You've seen the house is now refurbished and it looks brand new." As to when they entered it, it was, horrible and old looking, and the tiles are redone. The entire house is redone. And then, of course, you see the last shot of the film. It's a great tracking shot. All of these pictures on this counter. And it's all of these people that have lived in the house in the past. And you see all of these people. One of them, Dan Curtis. If you have a sharp eye for that, you can see Dan Curtis is one of the pictures. The last three pictures on the mantle, Bette Davis, Oliver Reed, and the kid. And it just plays that music box score, fade to black. Fucking fantastic, man. To me, this is one of the great horror movies of all time. It's just so wonderful. And there will be people that will say, "Hey, I saw where it was going," and there will be people who say, "Hey, it's a little bit too much of a slow burn." My friend Wes always says this is a great movie to go to sleep to. I highly disagree. But to me, this is one of the scariest horror movies ever made, and I think it's probably the most underrated one in my humble opinion. The perfect haunted house movie. I just love it. let's see, is the little kid Bob? No, little kid is not Bob. The little kid is, let's see, what the hell was the kid's name in this? He has an interview on this, which was really cool. He tells all the stories of getting drunk with Oliver Reed, which is funny. Lee Montgomery is the little kid in this. He has the script of this signed by Bette Davis, Karen Black, Oliver Reed, everybody, and some of the blood spatter from that scene. Really cool stuff. Evil House, yes. Spoiler alert, what the fuck? Sorry, brother. Dude, I always spoil movies. I'm not one to hold anybody in suspense. I apologize, though. But it's it's still worth your time. And honestly, it's an ending you could see coming. Like, I guess when you're a kid, maybe you don't see it coming. But when you're an adult, like, you definitely see this ending coming. But I don't think that's the point of it. I think it's Dan Curtis, man, just absolutely hitting a home run of a haunted house horror movie. It is a crazy ending. It's holy shit. Like, you don't expect to see all of that shit go down. And when it does, you're like, oh my God. Like, wow. Like, this movie really just took its gloves off. I actually prefer this to Amityville. So do I. See, a lot of people give Amityville the pass, and I love Amityville, but man, this movie's better. This movie's way better. For haunted house movies, it's just very unique and has some great performances and scary moments. I agree. I think the difference between this and that is that movie, there are times where it really plays it safe. Like, the only real crazy thing is that the window slamming scene. But this is like, it teases murdering children. By the end of it, it does murder a child on screen. I mean, there is quite a bit of gore by the end of it. There's a father trying to murder his son. There's a scene where this kid almost gets gassed. An old woman decaying before our very eyes. Karen Black slowly but surely sort of descending into madness. This movie has a lot going for it. It really does. It really has a lot of great horror elements, and it checks off all the boxes to me as to what makes a great haunted house movie. I liked Burnt Offerings for the creepy atmosphere, but the scares take a long time to happen. I do. That's the big criticism with this movie I've noticed, is that it's too much of a slow burn. And I understand that, but I don't know, man. I honestly think this is just such a fucking well done movie. Like, I watched it a couple days ago. I want to watch it again right now. Like, this is a movie for years too. I would watch on Halloween night. I think of these three, this is the one to watch in October. Like, it's a perfect Halloween night movie, creepy, atmospheric. And I also, I really would like to mention some of the cinematography shots. There's a great scene where Karen Black, she's playing with the music box, and it's an all like, half of the scene is red, like her face is red here, and then, whatever natural color here. Really cool, almost like an Argentoan shot. It's just fucking gorgeous, man. And Karen Black is great to look at. I mean, I love Karen Black. Aiden Baver's in the house. Aiden Baver, what's going on, good brother? Hope all is well with you tonight, man. But yeah, man, Burnt Offerings. I highly recommend you guys pick up this Blu-ray. AJ, I would say take your niece's birthday gift and put it in a Blu-ray player right goddamn now. This is an awesome fucking movie, in my opinion. I love it. My favorite haunted house movie of all time. There, I said it. And a 10 out of 10. I love it. I'm sorry. I know people probably roll their eyes at that, but I don't know, man. To me, I don't think you ever had a better cast in a haunted house movie. You have a wonderful director, great, cinematography, of course, the use of the, soft focus shots, creating that eerie, moody atmosphere, the score by Bob Colbert and the music box. And I don't know, man, when shit hits the fan, it really, truly does in this movie. And I don't know. I think the world of Burnt Offerings, my favorite haunted house movie of all time. And I thank Dan Curtis for that. May you rest in peace. Burnt Offerings, 10 out of 10. Let's see. The film I say to watch during Halloween is Halloween 3. Oh man, that's a great pick. And here we can open that up for the chat. Best movie to watch on Halloween night. That would be a fun thing for the chat. Let's see. I like that it's a slow turn. It lulls you in and then starts shit. Yeah, exactly. Like, like Tom was saying, like, it takes scares a long time, and they do. But I guess, like, when they do start happening, they're crazy. Like, I wouldn't expect fucking Oliver Reed to just try to murder his son out of nowhere. Like, it's funny. I see a review here on IMDb. It says, this is the most boring movie ever. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's not the most boring movie ever. I've seen fucking boring movies, man. That's not one of them. Your description and excitement for Burnt Offerings is infectious. Looks like I got to drag it. Yes! Hell yeah! Hell yeah! I've sold somebody. God damn it. I love it. I'm so happy to hear that. I think it's a good watch, man. It is slow burn. Like, I'm not even going to sit here and deny it. Like, it is. But I don't know. I think the payoff is just, it's so good. That chauffeur, everybody remembers that. When that's the one thing people do remember from this movie is that creepy chauffeur smiling at Oliver Reed's character as a kid and Bette Davis when he comes to collect her corpse. Very gothic, but very, very cool. And he does an interview on here. They got that actor back. Really cool stuff. Because everybody else has sadly since passed on. Karen Black's gone. Oliver Reed's gone. Bette Davis is long gone. Burgess Meredith, Eileen Heckert. Like, they're all gone except the kid and the chauffeur. Like, they're the only two people that are in this movie that are still alive. Dan Curtis is gone. It's just sad, but man, I don't know. I love this movie. I really do. Halloween or Trick or Treat? Okay. You're answering my question. Yeah, no, those are the two, definitely the two obvious ones. Man, honestly, Trick or Treat has really become such a giant cult movie. Like, I was talking about this last week on the show with the Monster Squad. Like, Monster Squad is like the great kid horror movie of the 80s. And then Hocus Pocus is probably the great kid horror movie of the 90s. And then Trick or Treat is like this generation's biggest thing, man. Like, if you go to the Spirit Halloween, me and Ryan went, Sam was everywhere. Sam has taken over this fucking holiday. And like forever, I'll be angry at Warner Brothers for not releasing that in the theater. Like, imagine if they released that in the theater. You might have had the next big horror franchise on your hands. You might have had the thing to dethrone Saw at the time. And the reason it wasn't released in the theaters apparently was because they were afraid Saw 4 would stomp the shit out of it, which is so sad to think about, but I guess that's the world we live in, man. Sometimes people in studios, they're scared to take chances, but man, Trick or Treat now, look at all the memorabilia, look at the NECA figures, look at all of the people that cosplay as it and watch this movie every October. Trick or Treat's really become one of a great cult movie for a lot of people. I like the movie a lot. I think it's a really good movie too. But it's incredible. It's really incredible how organically over time that movie's gotten over. And honestly, just for Daughtry's sake, I would like to see him make a sequel. Like, I definitely, so Trenchy took the words right out of my mouth. I would like to see him be able to make the sequel. Granted, I feel like it has honestly been too long. Like, I think the time to do a sequel was sooner rather than later. But with that said, I do think it's worth it. I really do think it would be worth a shot. I mean, why not? We've watched, I really liked that Creep Show episode where I talked about All Hallows Eve. That was a great, kind of throwback to movies that Trick or Treat were. So it would be cool to see another one. I hope he does get to make it someday. Crimson Peak or The Orphanage? Oh, dude, Crimson Peak's great. The Orphanage is so fucking underrated. That's such a good movie, man. That's another one that, I don't know about you, man, but that scares me, man. I don't know. The Orphanage is not technically haunted house, but it has those elements. So it's weird. Like, I don't know if I could put it on a haunted house list, but if I could, it would definitely probably be on the top 10. It's a fucking fantastic film. I believe it's a Mexican film. Really good stuff. And funny enough, we watched that in Spanish class. I believe 11th grade Spanish class. They put that on. And I was like, wow, like, how have I not heard of this? This is a fantastic fucking movie, man. Really good, mystique to that film and the creep factor. And man, that's a really well-directed movie. I believe it was directed by J.A. Bonilla, who went on to do the Jurassic World sequel, I think The Fallen Kingdom, which Ryan and I talked about. And we put over his direction. I think he's a really good gothic horror filmmaker. I'd like to see him do more horror films. I really would. I think The Orphanage is a great pick. That's what, man, I'm overdue. You're going to bust out the Burnt Offerings DVD. I'm going to have to bust out The Orphanage for you, man. I promise you, I will watch The Orphanage before this month is out. That's one I have not watched in a long damn time. Probably since the high school days, since I first saw it. I was like, wow, blown away by it. That's what, I don't know. Is there a special edition blue of that? Or just maybe even a standard blue? I think that was right around the time Blu-ray came out. Like 07? Was that movie 07? I think the Orphanage was around 2007. So that was like right when Blu-rays were coming into the scene. So I know we watched it in class on DVD, but that's one I'd like to watch the blue of. That would be really cool. Orphanage is a great pick. For me last year, it's funny, I watched one of these three movies. I watched House on Halloween. I watched Fright Night, the original Fright Night. And I watched, Mother of Tears. I watched Mother of Tears, House, and Fright Night, which is all three were a lot of fun to watch on Halloween night. It was really, really fun stuff. This year, I'm not sure. I always like to shake it up. and it's funny, over the years, I've been watching less and less franchise movies. Like, I haven't watched any other than the new Halloween movies. Oh, well, Jesus Christ, here you go. What are your thoughts on Halloween 2018? Because I know you don't like Halloween Kills, but I don't think I've heard your opinion on 2018. Devin, I'll probably blow your mind. I like the 2018 movie even less. Number one, I don't like either one of those two movies. Number two, I think the 2018 movie, and I've been thinking about this since I've watched the Kills movie. The Kills movie shows all the kills and has like no suspense, right? Like, to me, the subtitle of Halloween Kills should have been called Halloween Kills Itself, The Revenge of fucking Leon the Professional. Because that movie was more like Leon the Professional than it was a Halloween movie. And fucking instead of Anthony Michael Hall or fucking Russ Griswold, "Some evil dies tonight," instead of him, maybe it should have fucking been Gary Oldman, "Bring everyone to kill Leon the Professional," and you still can't fucking do it. But to me, man, the thing that Halloween Kills movie really suffered from was the lack of stalk and suspense. And that's what really makes Michael Myers Michael Myers. I like the stalk element of that character, whether it be in the original where Annie's on the phone and we keep seeing the shape appear in the back window. And it's the build up to that kill. It's let's be honest, it's not the most extravagant kill ever. He chokes her out in a car from behind. It's not the most extravagant kill ever, but it's the build up of that suspense and the payoff. Fantastically done. There's no build up of suspense in this new Halloween movie, the Halloween Kills. However, I will say, if there was one scene in the 2018 movie I liked, it was the scene where that kid, he's in the yard and the light sensors are going off. Like they flash on. We see Michael, they flash off, they flash on again. We don't see the shape. That's in the vein of the original movie. That one scene of the 2018 movie I liked. I was like, that's fucking Michael Myers. The problem with that movie is that everything was off screen. Everything. The two fucking podcasters, the fucking however many people he kills in the garage place or whatever the fuck. Almost every fucking kill in that movie. I think it's over double digit kills in that fucking movie. Horrible, man. It's literally, I call it Halloween off screen because there's nothing fucking on screen worth a shit. Oh, Grande, what about that tracking shot of Michael when he's going throughout fucking Haddonfield? Yeah, he kills this old lady with a hammer and you don't see it. Fuck, man. Oh my God. I hate the 2018 movie is my least favorite. I hate that movie with a passion. Every fucking man in it is a misogynistic creep. And, Grande, fuck. A lot of men are misogynistic creeps. I understand that, but not every fucking man in Haddonfield. Come on. Oh, except Will Patton. But he gets stabbed in the neck by this fucking idiot doctor. Oh, God. The 2018 movie to me is the worst of the franchise. I fucking hate it. It's a cheap imitation. It's trying to be the original. It fucking fails. They have that stupid motif of, oh, now she's one step ahead of him because when he looks off the balcony, she's the one gone now. Wow, aren't we smart? Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck your 2018 movie. Halloween 2, 1981 is forever the real sequel. If you don't like them being brother and sister, that's fucking fine. But if you're going to argue with me that because they're brother and sister in those movies, that character isn't as scary then as it is now, I think you're crazy. I really do. I really think that. Michael in Halloween 4. Hell, Michael, as best movie is, Halloween 5. Michael in Halloween 5 is still doing the stalk and slash. But this Halloween Kills, man, it was honestly Leon the Professional made into a horror movie. Man, infuriates me. Fuck those last Halloween movies. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. And honestly, that's why I posted the video I posted. I posted just a question to the fans. Like, do you really think this is scarier than the shit that you say is not scary because he's brother and sister with Laurie? Like, that's the big criticism of Halloween 2. It's similar to Friday the 13th Part 5. Oh, Grande, it's not Jason. Who the fuck cares? A guy in a hockey mask killing people. There's yits, there's boobs, there's blood, there's mayhem, there's a man with no life in his eyes. It has everything. Danny Steinman delivered a perfect slasher, and people shit on it forever because, oh, well, it wasn't Jason at the end, Grande. What do you know? What do I know? I know a good slasher movie when I fucking see all four of my eyes. That's what I know. I think Michael Myers is acting too much like Jason. Yeah, no, that's the thing, man. Like, That's it. Like, okay. And I said this a little bit in that video too. Everyone wants to discuss the mystique of the Michael Myers character. Oh, well, in the original film, it's done perfect. I agree. It is done great in the original film. I love that original film. A lot of people argue that the second one, the fourth one, and onward, they all ruin the mystique of that character because of starting with the brother-sister angle, going into the Thorn stuff, going into fucking Busta Rhymes, going into a white horse and Sherry Moon, fucking Lily Munster herself walking around. I understand that the series took a couple of left turns that probably were for the worse. And I understand that. And I understand the people that say that demystifies him. I get it. But to me, there's no more demystifying him than that Halloween Kills movie did. You turned him into a fucking ninja. You turned him into a fucking John Wick. The entire town couldn't defeat him at once. They all had fucking... Oh, holy shit. This is just... I love both versions of The Woman in Black and The Old Dark House. Great movies to watch in October. Dude, yes. Another one I want to throw your way. And you may laugh at me if you've seen this movie. Because this is one that I watched as a kid and I really liked. And people make fun of me for liking it now. The Lady in White. It's from 1988. It's a really fucking good movie. The Lady in White is awesome. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if anyone of you've seen it. It's one of those guilty pleasures from my childhood that I love. The Lady in White. I love that movie from the late 80s. That's one I should fucking do a graveyard on, man. You were not impressed by I Got Peanut Butter on My Dick? No, I wasn't fucking impressed by that. Like, all of the male characters were just written to be fucking sleazy, awful people. And like, I understand that there are some sleazy, awful men out there. I'm not trying to say that it's not the case. But like, okay, Brady, let's say Brady from Halloween 4. He was a sleazy guy. He cheated on Rachel with that cop's daughter. But when the time, came and Michael Myers was coming, he defended them and tried to fight Michael Myers. And it was a kind of a heroic death scene, even though, he got his dumb ass killed. There was a little bit of a, respect. All right, man, at least he stood up to them. There's nothing like that in these movies. There's no, it's, oh man, I was cheering for him to die. Oh, that guy, I was cheering for him to die. That's a problem. Like, what the fuck, man? Agree with Myers becoming Jason. If he talked, he would be telling Krueger one-liners. Yeah, sure. How sweet, fucking fresh meat. It's fucking garbage. It's not that character to me. It's just not. And like, people are gonna love it. Listen, there were a lot of people that loved it. The movie made over $50 million, regardless of what I say. But in my humble opinion, that ruins the mystique of the character. People don't like what Rob Zombie did, but I appreciate that he tried to bring something new to it and sort of tried to pass the torch to, in his movie, Angel Myers, of course, in the second one, and the White Horse. And I know people hate that, but like, at least he had the balls to try something new. This is just the same shit, different day, dialed up to 1,000. And it's almost dialed up so far that the kills aren't scary. They're laughable. Okay, I want to save my opinions for reviews, but I'm going to tell you I do like the new films. Do like them a lot more than Halloween 2, the original. Hell no. Yeah, no, I anyone who puts the original Halloween 2 down, I don't get it, man. Because that's the only thing you ever hear. You hear, oh, it's her brother now. Come on, Grande. Yeah, it fucking Empire Strikes Back. It's his son. Nobody shits on that movie. What the fuck? So we have to shit on Halloween too because they went with a fucking bloodline angle. Like, really? Like, it still has Donald Pleasance giving a great Sam Hain. It means the Lord of the Dead. It's time, Michael. What do you guys do? You fire a warning shot, right? Boom. Fantastic. Donald Pleasance is that movie. He's fantastic in the fucking movie. I love him. I don't know. I don't get the hate for Halloween 2. Yeah, Lady in White is excellent. Yes! Oh, dude, see, I'm so happy somebody else on here has seen the Lady in White. That's a guilty pleasure of mine because a lot of people, I remember I showed it to my friends years ago on a Halloween, like we were watching movies, and they all made fun of me, dude. They were like, dude, you have no taste. I was like, damn it. I was like, I love the Lady in White, man. I got all blushed and shit. Oh, I've seen clips of Lady in White. All I have to see is the whole thing at some point. I know American Horror Story 84. Did they really? I didn't know that. That's very interesting. Cops do it by the book. I don't know, man. I don't know. But personally, man, you can't cheat on Ellie Cornell because I love Ellie is bae. All right. We love Ellie Cornell here on the Graveyard. Yeah, I didn't like how they made the silly best friend a sleazebag because I really liked him till he did that. Exactly. It did feel tacked on. You didn't get any vibe of that. Why? See, and to me, when you're talking about horror, make me care about his death. He okay, make him like the George Wendt character in House, like we were just talking before. The blue collar, lovable, little bit overweight. It's all right. I like to eat too. I'm a little bit overweight. Lovable, fat friend. Hey, that was a real shitty thing what he did. He just cheated on you. Let me walk you home. And in the kindness of my heart, I'm not trying to be a sleazeball. To me, I would care more about that character's death if you went that way. He was a good guy. He was just trying to do the right thing. And Michael Myers stalks and slashes and takes him out. That son of a bitch grows the heat. That's how you grow heat for a fucking antagonist. But no, we have to make, okay, he's a fucking perv. He's coming on to her and of course gets killed and we cheer. I don't know. That to me, you're taking the horror out of it. That's the whole point, is to be horrified by it. Instead, I'm cheering. That's action tropes. That's like an action movie. I don't know, man. Lame. Very lame. Been listening. I don't mind the bloodline things. Yeah, I do. I just don't either. I don't like, okay. I don't mind it at all. But to be the people that say that demystifies the character, that blows my mind. Michael Myers in Halloween 2 is fucking scary. The Nurse Janet death scene is my favorite of the fucking franchise. I adore it. She backs up and the shape appears. The red, fantastic fucking kill scene. Of course, the stab to the back of the nurse and he lifts her up, kind of looks. And then they play the music and the Mr. Sandman. I think it's just wonderful. I really think Michael Myers is still very scary in that movie. I just, I don't know. There are a lot of people now, since those new ones have come out, that really make it their mission to shit on those movies of the past and erase them in a lot of ways. And I don't know. I'd like to respectfully disagree with that, I guess is the nicest way to say it. Okay, here's my headcanon for my Halloween timeline. Halloween, the original. Halloween 2, the original. That's it. Hell yeah. Completely agree. And I love Halloween Season of the Witch, and I love Halloween 4. To me, the first 4 are the best 4, and I don't think they've made one as good as 4 since 4. I really do. I think 1 through 4 are the best. I really love the first 4. And then after that, it's a very big crapshoot. But I don't think any of them past 4 are as good as 4. I really do believe that. Those are the 4. I rarely move on from them. 5 is a guilty pleasure just because I watch it a lot. I don't know what it is about that movie. I think it's the last Halloween film that feels like one of the originals. In a similar vein to Friday the 13th Part 5 is the last one that feels like the original movies. And then Part 6, it kind of takes it in this whole different direction that people really love. The whole zombie Jason and the Tom McLaughlin humor. But 5 feels like the last true one to me that feels that atmosphere and aesthetic. Same thing with The Revenge of Michael Myers, even though it's not a great movie by any means. I like 2018, but I prefer 2, 4, and Hell. I love H2O. I love how many people, love H2O. I know many people don't, but I just have a lot of fun with the film. I don't mind H2O either. I think the problem with H2O is it's a little too much like Scream. And I also think it's the worst Michael Myers. I think Chris Duran did a fucking terrible job. He looks the goofiest in that one. Like people say, oh, he looks like Nicolas Cage or a shaved bird in Halloween 5. And oh, he looks like shit in Halloween 4. There's no Michael Myers that's worse than the one in H2O, in my opinion. Stop it. I love Halloween 3, man. That's when I always watch this. It's funny. I watch it 8 days before Halloween because of the first Silver Samurai. 8 more days till Halloween. I mean, I always like to watch it around that time. Did I ever watch that on Halloween night? I don't think I ever have, Ryan. Hey man, I know you got that projector going. I would love to watch some Halloween 3 with you, man. That would be a lot of fun. You will find out my review, why my review, but Halloween 4 is my Creepshow 3. Wow, that is saying a lot because I do love Halloween 4. I won't lie. But if it's your Creepshow 3, oh man, that's going to be a very colorful review, man. I'm very much looking forward to that. It's funny we went off into this Halloween tangent at the end of this episode because next week we're going to be ranking the Halloween films here on the Graveyard, live in living color. And it's going to be a Halloween spooktacular, if you will. I'm going to read another scary story live on the Graveyard with y'all. We're going to rank all of the Halloween movies. And we we'll have a couple more things in store. Maybe some candy, maybe some tricks, maybe some treats. I don't know. But that's going to be next week's show. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be the Halloween spooktacular, if you will. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So you get a little sneak preview of some of my thoughts on the Halloween films, but we'll go in depth on each one next week. I'll get the old tier list up and we will go ham, we'll go hardcore into those movies. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. But I guess that's going to be all for the Graveyard tonight. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you've not seen these movies, whether it be House from 1977, House from 1986, or my personal favorite, Burnt Offerings from 1976. Highly recommend. I think these are three great haunted house movies that show, of course, the importance of ambition and innovativeness, the importance of fun and heart, and I think the importance of old school classic horror. I really like all three of these movies, so highly recommend y'all check these out. And The Lady in White. I don't know if you're still there, Tom. But definitely watch that one too. But that will be all for the show tonight, everybody. Yeah. Oh, yo, dude, we're going to have a fun time next time. I'm down. Oh, hell yeah. Okay, cool. Halloween 3 projector night, man. That would be a lot of fun. Resurrection #1. You know it, man. Trick or treat, motherfucker. See you next time. Great show. Stay frosty. Nice to hear House of Roctober get some attention. Thank you, man. Thank you for staying the whole time, man. I really do appreciate that. Everybody, thank you so much. Have a safe, wonderful weekend. Cheers. Grape juice cheers to everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. We will catch you next time only on the Graveyard. Too sweet. Peace. And we'll catch you next time.